If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This is another of our popular Listener's Choice interviews, which we're playing over the weekend. We've chosen the most popular interviews for you to select the Listener's Choice winner. If you're not sure how the Listener's Choice competition works, have a look at horsechats.com/choice for the rules and the leaderboard. Horse welfare and safety are of utmost importance where humans have any interaction with horses. Within the courses at International Horse College, we only utilise methods that promote safe and humane ways of interaction between horses and humans. We only support safe methods of educating riders, handlers and trainers about horse welfare. internationalhorsecollege.com, registered training organisation 31352. Today's guest is a repeat guest. It's Jochen Schleese, who's an absolute master with saddle fitting, and he's going to talk today about 10 points about saddle fitting education. So I think that itself is quite good. I think the education that he's given us so far has been brilliant. Now, he's flown over to Australia for Equitana. He's been on a flight for 25 hours on 2 flights. Is that 25 and a half hours? Is that right, Jochen?
Yes.
Yes.
Added up.
Okay. Plus a bit of a stopover in the middle. So, if you drift off to sleep, we'll understand why. But good. All right. Now, first of all, tell us, because we talk to a lot of equine professionals, and we push the training, we push the education. I think the podcast itself is education, and we're really pushing education for equine professionals. And the only way that you can tell how someone is going as far as their education goes is to have like a benchmark, and that's where accreditation comes in. So credentials, accreditation, I think it's important, but you tell us why it's important to consider the credentials of your equine professional. And this is not just, even though we're talking about saddle fitting education, it's not just saddle fitting, it's about education all round.
Glenys, I work now in many different saddleries all over the world. And
yes.
I'm always very happy and honored when I get invited to all these different continents to speak about saddle fitting and protecting our horses. And I have not yet understood how come they have not regulated the credentials, because we're dealing with a dangerous sport here.
Yes.
And horses are gentle giants. And I have been told by my master and how I grew up in Germany that you can't even open your own business unless you have your certification. What I understand in the third world country, when I'm in India or I'm in China or in areas where you might not have such a huge sport such as America or Australia, but there's really no credentials. Everybody can call them whatever they want.
Yep.
And the customer believes, because you know what, they just out of the blue calls themselves master or saddle fitter, but yet never have any formal tests or formal credentials. The customer believes it, and they're practicing on people's horses. And maybe that's why we have so many people getting so upset about and confused about saddle fitting, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then, of course, it gets blamed to the person by saying, oh, you can't ride. And yet they are just practicing their trial and error on clients who rely on, I thought you're professional. And yet they have just come up with their own certification. Can you imagine you go somewhere to a doctor and you think, okay, he's a doctor, but he just made himself this up. There's a beautiful movie from Leonardo DiCaprio. He's going to call, it's a movie called Catch Me If You can. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes. And I actually listened to a podcast from the person who they made the movie from.
Is that right?
Yes.
And this is how I feel like, you can call yourself whatever you want and off you go. And the poor people fall for it, and the poor horses pays in pain by suffering, so it's just not right. I think it's important that people really ask, hey, where did you get your title from?
Yes. And I know that you travel around. You travel all over the world, but the regulations in Europe and in North America are different. Can you tell me a little bit about the countries that are regulated?
Yes. In Germany, you go for 3 years as a journeyman, and you can qualify yourself as a harness maker or as a bridle maker or as a sports saddler or as an equestrian saddler. And then you have to travel after your journeyman for 3 to 5 years as a journeyman and, get experience under the supervision of masters. And then if you decide to have your own business, the German government doesn't allow you to open your own company unless you have a master saddler either employed or have that title. So if you decided after 3 to 5 years business as a journeyman, you then have to write a book, like just step by step how you make a saddle. You have to go to a business school. You have to learn how to run your books. You have to learn about how to teach young people. And then you have to work and make a saddle in front of 5 masters. So they just sit there and watch you how to make a saddle. That's quite nerve-wracking as a young man.
I'm sure it is, yes.
And if you have, I remember that at my certification, there was 25 people at the certification, 12 of them fail. And you're standing in a half circle, and the masters came by and says, well done, son. And the next, I see you again in a year, and well done, son. Oh, my God, So anyway, when I come to North America or even in England, you have a 5-year journeyman in England, and then you become a journeyman. And sometime after many years of working, maybe 20 years or so, the company decided to give you the title of master, but there's no really a test, and you don't do bookkeeping, and you don't learn the pedagogic side of how to deal with young adults who how you teach them and how to put everything in a report and how do you do graphic designs. So that was all missing from what I had to go through, and then come to North America, and it's from my understanding in Australia the same. You don't need any certification. You can just hang up your jingle and say, hey, I call myself PhD or whatever.
So this sort of brings us to point number 3, because you've talked about being a master. So tell us what you have to do to be a master in Germany. If someone's going to really be a master, what happens there?
Yeah, so they hold you accountable for, they give you a couple of cases. It says, okay, here's this type of horse, here's this type of saddle, how do you want to handle it? And only after you have passed it with a minimum of 94%, they are extremely strict. And the reason why they're so strict, because the whole lobby behind it in the Chamber of Commerce, they don't want to have one saddlery after another one open up in their neighborhood. So if you want to have your own business and compete with other companies, you really have to know your stuff. And they don't want to have what I find a lot in Australia, and I find this a lot in North America, where the customer are fed up. It says, oh, here's another so-called master saddler, and it doesn't work again. Before you get the title as master, they give you, in Germany, a diploma, right? So a master saddler with diploma is something completely different than a master saddler who doesn't even have a school or kind of reference where they studied. So what does the term master mean? A master means that you have completed the challenge they provided you with under supervision of other masters, and they have given you a diploma which is registered with the German Business Association, not just with the Chamber of Commerce, but also with the local government.
Yep. Okay, so I know that you've got courses. You do courses yourself through Saddle Fit for Life. What about the courses that are offered there? Because they're international courses, aren't they? Are they international? You've got qualified people around the world that have met this particular standard and they're qualified, they're certified. Is that right?
Yes. When I started to do this in overseas, and they asked me to teach us in Germany. I already had in North America my company since 12 or 13 years. And I said, oh, come on. You can't find anybody else to teach us. I have to come all the way back from North America. It says, well, your strict control to the basics is there. And we love how you, as an ex-3-day international event rider, brought in from the rider's point of view, not just from the saddle maker, but also we saw all these doctors, gynecologists, veterinarian, equine body workers such as massage therapists, osteopaths, acupuncturists, how you bring them all in your book as well as in your teaching. So together with the German International Riding School, we made this an official trade. And they didn't like the title of saddle police officer. They came up with the title of equine agronomist. Equine, horse, agronomist comes from the Greek, means measuring something three-dimensional, such as an office chair. An office chair is designed and built three-dimensional for the rider's bottom. Now, an equine agronomist is able to measure the horse's back, the saddle, and the rider's bottom. Now, in conjunction, he or she needs to know the biomechanics of horse and riders, the anatomy, but also the physiology. How does the muscles in the body work in conjunction with a horse, where the horizontal spine of the horse moves completely different than the vertical spine. So together, with all what I just mentioned, the customer has a person who doesn't sell a product. That person, just like a police officer, when he pulls you over, they are not saying, oh, I love your Mercedes. They say, hey, your headlight is out.
Yes.
And they give you a ticket.
Yep.
And that officer does not fix your headlight. He says, get it fixed.
Yep.
Now, in the saddle industry, there's nobody running around the barns and gives people tickets. But in the saddle industry or equine industry, there's many people who say, yeah, you just want to sell me a saddle. Yeah, you will say anything bad about my saddle.
Yep.
No, these people are specifically chosen to be non-product driven. They just put the horse first, and they say, hey, look at this. You are sitting in the saddle, which is out of balance. You are riding in a non-gender appropriate saddle, and you are on top, without you noticed, hurting your horse because the saddle tree is too narrow or too long or whatever.
Yep.
The customer listens to those people way faster than to people who want to sell saddles. And that's why, no matter in what country I am, in South Africa is CIPSA. It's a big equine organization in the United States. It's USDF, United States Dressage Federation. In Germany, it's the German National Riding School. In Ontario, in Canada, it's the Canadian Equestrian Federation. So we don't have the huge cloud, but we do have the association behind us because they give their trainers, when they go through our course, 15 to 36 credits. When a veterinarian takes our equine agronomist course, they get 32 credits. A vet needs to have 36 credits every 2 years. So needless to say, the veterinarian says, now that is something what I can A, need and use, and B, it's so nice to be able to talk to other saddle fitters or saddle makers how the saddle has to fit.
Yep.
Because it's not about this or that or the other saddle. It's about a product what enhances the horse's life and not cripples.
Yep.
Then last not least, the other thing what Saddle Fit for Life does for very selected people who say, you know what, I actually also want to be able to make adjustments to the saddle. Not to build the saddle, it's a big difference. Not to build, but to adjust the saddle.
Yep.
So for that, you need to find a company who will take you on co-op where you drive with these people, and after 120 horses, you then can say, okay, I'll be able now to do adjustments as well. So
Okay.
we are very proud of it because we are the only saddle fitting company where you have to recertify in order to maintain your qualification.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now, you said about the equine ergonomist and then the trainer. Tell me about the trainer.
Well, what we find is a lot the trainers, they get pulled in and they will ask, hey, can you look how my saddle fits?
Yep.
No, the trainer who rides a horse and teaches people can see the whole pictures or feels it and does not really know how to articulate it. But we have a lot of trainers who take these courses because they are stuck in the middle, literally.
Yep.
The client says, oh, you know my horse so well, and you know me so well, and I do need a new saddle, and do you mind, please look over when this and this. I have 3 different salespeople come, and they say all kinds of things about the horse, what you sold me, or which you know, and the trainer very often is in the middle. And we find that the trainers are super benefit to become an equine or a saddle ergonomist because they're dealing with the subject saddle, horse, student every day.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
that's what I mean by that.
Yeah. Okay. So saddlers, tell me the difference between saddlers and saddle fitters.
Well, as I mentioned before, when I went to my apprenticeship program, we had some apprentices for 3 years and never, ever did anything else than making harnesses and never touched a bridle or a saddle.
Okay.
And then we had people who only did saddles, and some people only did bridles. So there's many people who did their 3-year apprenticeship and never touched a saddle, and for sure not learned anything about anatomy of the horse or the rider, biomechanics, the dynamic fit, or the physiology. None of it.
Yep.
Not even if you did your master's. And even after you work for 3 to 5 years under supervision of masters and become a master, even then, a saddle maker, how to explain that? The best way to explain it is somebody works on the assembly line at Toyota in Australia or in Japan.
Yep.
And assembles the seats in a mass production.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he is a test driver on the Formula One case.
Yes.
He does maybe not be an excellent driver.
Yep.
Or he maybe not be able to analyze how good the gas consumption is or how good the car performs. That would be an engineer or somebody special. That saddle maker or the person who mass produces and puts the seats into them in the assembly line of the Toyota plant has no clue about saddle fitting. Do you understand what I'm saying, Glenys?
Yes, I do. Yep.
See,
for
and
sure.
the consumer thinks, oh, he's a saddle maker, he has a clue. Most saddle makers, they don't even ride.
Yeah.
They're afraid of horses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They never see a horse. So there is a massive difference. And that's why we decided when we started this new program and registered it with the German government, we made very clear that we don't call that saddle fitters because the people who had the best ability to buy any saddle or any service they can get, I'm talking about people with a lot of money, you know what they say? Forget it.
Okay.
Saddle fitters are horrible. They don't work. Many, many people call saddle fitter a bad name because of the experience they had with these people. They had, how do I say it? They assumed they know it, but they don't. And the so-called saddler or self-proclaimed master saddler fitter,
Yep.
they practice on the horses, and before you know it, the customer had enough.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to stay away from the term saddle fitter. That's why we call them equine ergonomist and saddle ergonomist. And people say, what is that? Well, that is something that is able to measure three-dimensional shapes, such as the saddle, the horse, and the rider's body, and understands about biomechanics, physiology, and understanding that the saddle has to fit the motion and not just standing on the bench.
Yes.
And then people,
Yes.
So the difference between a saddler and saddle fitter is massive. So that's why I was giving you the analogy from the Toyota power plant. Did I confuse you or?
No. I'm just thinking about the, the whole world of saddle fitting education, and where Saddle Fit for Life comes in. Just tell us a little bit more about that. What makes it unique in the world of saddle fitting education?
You know what? I just said the other day to my little girl, oh my God, she turned 30 the other day. So she's not that little anymore. She is little. But anyway, she says, Daddy, what keeps you up every morning? You're always so full of energy. I said, sweetheart, when you teach somebody to take a horse or a rider out of misery, out of pain by showing them how it can be much easier.
Yep.
So teaching saddle fitting to other equine professionals so they can make a difference. I cannot even imagine or can't even put a number on this, how big the emotional paycheck is.
Yes.
So what makes Saddle Fit for Life so special? That is not product-driven. What is completely evidence-based. It follows the law of nature and has all scientific evidence. It's not just an idea. It cracks me up when some people, Saddle Fit for Life doesn't work. So that's exactly the same as somebody says, I don't think the earth is round. I think it's flat.
Yep.
Those people exist.
Yes.
Right? And what makes Saddle Fit for Life so extraordinary because so many people from all equine professionals who work with the animal can benefit from it, they can learn it, and the fact that we are controlling it so strictly, in other words, we only let people on our website and promote them who have been recertified and who have taken the step and says, you know what, I believe on something. If I believe on everything, that means I believe on nothing. So if you can't believe on the horse, you can't believe on the simple physics, law of nature, and the anatomy, then you're not part of Saddle Fit for Life. And I think that's why it's growing so rapidly.
So if someone's thinking, this is the type of work that I would like to do, to help horses, help the riders, and they just would like to do something and they're interested in learning more, what sort of person would that be? They'd have to be fairly open-minded. They'd have to have a knowledge of horses. What else would they need?
We find that most people who already have that mindset you just mentioned are body workers.
Okay.
People who do massage therapy, chiropractor, osteopath, masters, and physiotherapy, veterinarians, even farriers, and mostly trainers who deal with this all day long. When you drive around, you go from barn to barn, you lose a lot of time in traffic, right?
Yep.
So now imagine you're the horse and you can look at the whole horse approach. And we know more and more lameness on the leg is diagnosed as secondary. Primary is the back. So imagine, Glenys, you are one of an extraordinary chiropractor. Everybody knows about you. And you're coming towards the back, look at here, we're constantly out here. You start scratching your back and say, why is it always the back? Well, let's see what sits on it. Oh my God, look how horrible that saddle is.
Yep.
So while you're already in the barn, you can give the customer the option of A, you should get a qualified saddle or equine ergonomist, or like you know them, saddle fitter in, make sure they have the right credentials, or I'm already here, I only charge half because I'm already here, I can give you an evaluation. So these people are perfect because they're not salespeople. They're there to help the horse. They're there to tell you the reason why the saddle don't fit is ABC, not because I want to sell you a saddle. Now, without discrediting my own business as a production company or discrediting my fellow colleagues as saddle makers, there's nothing wrong to sell a saddle if the saddle is in need because they want to buy a saddle or the saddle is too old to fix, right?
Yep.
But the answer to your question, what are the perfect people to do an equine ergonomist, is definitely the body worker because he's there to help the horse in the first place.
If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. Just thinking about then the philosophy for Saddle Fit for Life. Tell us a bit about that.
This is going to kill my neck, you know. Maybe it's a shot in the dark or I'm setting my goal up too big here.
Yeah.
But I have traveled Asia. I've been through Russia. And everywhere I go, Glenys, you get by with English. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's kind of like a world language.
Yeah.
And if we could design a world language when it comes to saddle fitting, why can it not be Saddle Fit for Life? Because Saddle Fit for Life, it has only a few words what specified. A, we know there are 7 different methods of fitting a saddle to a horse.
Mm-hmm.
I had that discussion with you last time I was on your talk.
Yes.
So Saddle Fit for Life only follows the biomechanics, anatomy of horse and rider, the physiology, how muscles work, and has the scientific background and not just an idea. Mm-hmm. So if we really truly want to help the horse, why can we not say whatever color saddle, whatever size saddle, whatever discipline saddle, it should not fit in this area where the horse will deform badly, right? So the universal language, like English, that's my dream. It should be Saddle Fit for Life.
Yep.
That people look at the horse first, the anatomy and physiology.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a pretty big shot because people like to come up with all kinds of ideas, but that's why I came up with Saddle Fit for Life. It's for the life of the horse. That's why it's important.
Yes, I was going to say, why did you feel a need to start Saddle Fit for Life?
It leads right in. I think that's our last question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big goal. It's, it's very good for the horse. I know that, if people want to listen to your first chat with us, you had a little bit of history there and a horse that had to be put down. But if you could tell to our listeners about that and, it might not have been that directly, but a little bit about the need.
Mm-hmm. This is truly coming from the bottom of my heart because I believe sometimes a human comes closer with a horse than with another human. The dog or the horse gives yourself 100% to you. And there's that bound between horse and human. And when my horse and we had that, and no matter what I done as a child in school or with my friends or my parents, I felt he understood me the best. Yep. And then when we competed for our own country, and he took me through places where I thought we're not going to make it, but he helped me and we made it, we both trusted each other implicit. And only to find out that I unintentionally crippled him with my own equipment while I was saddler. Of course I was mad with everybody who taught me, how come you didn't teach me this?
Yep.
In the end, it's my own fault, right? And that's why I felt so strong about the need of nobody should ever lose their best friend of not knowing. Because I'm a huge believer of people know what they know. They also know what they don't know. But the biggest part they don't know is what they don't know.
Yep.
And I see it every time. Every time I speak to people, they cry when they see what they do to the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Not before they felt bad, because they didn't feel, they felt like, oh my God, how did I not know? And of course they feel them bad. You know, they feel bad because
yes.
It's an emotion I totally can feel with it because I've been through it.
Mm.
It's like anger and sadness, and all this hits you in your heart so deep. And by having my name as last name and making so many saddles over so many years, I felt, oh yeah, this guy just wants to sell his own saddle. Well, I can't sell 37,000 saddles a year, and that's just in North America. Never mind about Europe, Asia, Australia, or anywhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt the need so strong that I separated the Saddle Fit for Life from Schleese and pretty much do this now full time.
Okay.
I'm super psyched that our courses are pretty much sold out. I think there's one spot left because that lady had an emergency, but our courses are completely sold out for this week.
Are they? Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, yeah. I think, that whole emotional, it's a bit of a roller coaster. We all want to do the right thing by our horse. We love our horses. We want to do the right thing, but it's that whole ignorance. If we don't know and don't realise what a bad job we're doing with the horse's welfare, I think that becomes, quite heartbreaking.
Well, this is why it's so cool that what you do, Glenys, is, your horse, online horse college, you're helping so many people with your program. And, of course, I'm, as I said before, and I'm a huge fan from you, and I'm honored that you had me now the third time back. But I hope I can open some people's mind, and I hope that they come to Equitana this weekend and listen to all the experts. A good friend of mine, Jim Masterson, is there.
Yes.
Who is an absolutely genius, who I learned a lot from it myself. So, yes, I can only congratulate what a wonderful job you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And I hope a lot of people listen to you.
Yes, yes. And I love it when people say, they talk about people that they've learned from, and it often just keeps going because they have some really good points. But people like Jim Masterson, there's so many people that have been great experts that we've been able to talk to. And you've just got to go to horsechats.com, and search for Masterson or search for Jim, and you'll find that, and quite a few people, that we've just had on the show. Very generous of them and generous of you too, Jochen, to give your time because you've travelled a long way to be here. I'm sure you'd like to be just relaxing and, having a good sleep or something. But thank you very much for your time today. I've certainly enjoyed talking to you again. Thanks again for chatting to us, and I'll see you at Equitana, but hopefully we'll catch up again soon online.
That would be great, Glenys.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.